Hey everyone, I'm Tim and I will show you now how to use Stellate's new GraphQL rate limiting. So let's get started. So we will first create a new service and then we will add the configuration to that service. Let's call it our fake store. It's a e-commerce store and we're creating that. In the meantime, we can already grab the configuration. So we add a new key to our configuration called rate limits. So we go to our config, go in here and add our rate limits. Let's just go with 3 so we can hit the limit and see how it looks like. So that is applied in a breeze. And I think I can even send this, thank you, GraphQL for auto-completing. And we have the description. All of this is working. We just set 2. Now we sent 3 and number 4 would be blocked because we have a limit of 3. So 4 is not allowed anymore. Let's increase it to 5 and actually have this enabled. And we can also be more descriptive in the names here of our rule. Let's submit that. Will be applied globally in all our locations in a few seconds. It's a new name, so it is a new limit. And there we go. Now we're actually blocked. We just set up rate limiting in about a minute. Now, this is great, but what if we now want to rate limit a specific mutation? I have the add to cart mutation. I would limit that. And that is quite simple by going for limiting specific queries and mutations here in the docs. Let's try that out. Now, in order to make those use cases possible, we at Stellate decided to allow you having arbitrary rate limit functions. So with those functions, you can do a lot. You can look into the request. You can take anything from the request, like the arguments, the fields, really anything. So in this case, we're using the query fields. We use the add to cart mutation. We allow it 3 times per minute. And let's apply it. Let's try it out. We'll work on that diff view that you just saw. And so now this mutation is not rate limited anymore. Let's create a new one, the add to cart, let's say for this product. And again, thanks GraphQL for auto-completing. And there we go. This is rate limited 3 times now per minute. Now, it's a bit sad that our old rule is not active anymore, where we have this baseline protection of 5 requests per minute. And let's activate that now. So that's quite simple by adding this array syntax. This is totally normal ECMAScript. So we can say, so by field returns an array. You might also have more rules that come out of it when you have more queries or mutations. And so we can now activate our old rule and we will now just call it baseline here. And this one we will call mutation because it's only the baseline and 1 mutation. Let's enable that. And now let's see. So is it still working? For this one, yes, we now have 2 rate limits and we can have a smaller one for add to cart while still having our baseline that also works for products. Great. Now we want to have this available, highly available for our dear customers, but if there's a random user playing around, spamming us, we want to limit that. So how can we do that? We can use JWT. With JWT, we can verify that it's an actual valid user. Stellate already has support for JWT scopes. In this case, we call it the authenticated scopes. You can use the same config then later for more advanced user-specific caching. Here we are just configuring them for rate limiting. That's a little example that I pasted here with secret. Now, we would like a higher limit now. These 2 limits that we have defined already, we would like to increase them for people who are authenticated so we can make sure we are supporting them and not have some random people spamming us that are not authenticated. If people are authenticated, we trust them a bit more. So how can we do that? Well, there is a new property called JWT, and we now can access basically any claim in here. Let's call the claim sub. That's actually pretty normal claim name, and we add that in here. So now we call it authenticated, super big uppercase, so we're sure this is from us, that we don't miss it. We can add these now in here. So we check JWT sub, then we use that. We will need to change how we are grouping now because now we are not going by IP anymore. but we're going by the sub, which could, for example, be a user ID, something like that. We actually have to turn it into a string because it's an unknown type. And let's apply that. Tim, please go out of the way, submit. So now we need to get a valid token. I'm on JWT.io, nothing entered here. This is the ordinary page, just JWT.io. And now we can go in here and we can say secret. That's the secret that we set. And it has already a sub again. That's a pretty standard thing to have in JWT. Now, in order to add that, we go in here again, just double checking baseline. It's just baseline, right? So headers, we go for the authorization header. And then we have bearer and our token. Let's check that out. And there we go. So this is just active now for this. And then also we'll check it out. Does this work for the mutation? Yes, it does. Amazing. So we just in a few minutes set up pretty advanced rate limiting here for our GraphQL API that has a different limit for authenticated and unauthenticated users. You can go even further. We have a bunch of examples here, the cookbook, how to use this in various use cases. Like if you have different plans, for example, you can have different rate limits for those. So I am looking forward to get your feedback on this. And I just want to say this is just the start, just the beginning. We have complexity-based rate limiting coming soon as well. That will even open up way more use cases. So happy rate limiting, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.